Minister.
Gurmayogat can call you. Ledo Kira can call you, but while I'm righteous, a Yanu or an Akid, Kemana Aladon Educus. With your permission, Mr. Speaker, I wish to make a statement on the next steps for education. Last autumn, I came to this Assembly with a challenging and necessary programme of actions under the heading Putting People's First, Shaping Our Future. Excuse me. I want to update members on the progress made since then. I also want to set out for members information on a further programme of work, a programme that continues to put pupils first, a programme that is focused on improving outcomes of our young people and in doing so on creating opportunity. Mr Lascan Collier, in shaping the future, I set out the challenges associated with a school's estate that was not well planned in the past and that needed reshaping, reinvestment and realignment with the educational needs of local communities. Since then, viability audits have been carried out to assess the educational enrolment and financial positions of every primary school and every post-primary school. The area planning exercise I promised is underway. The consultation phase for post-primary plans concluded recently, and I expect to have the finalised plans on my desk shortly. The cross-border survey of education is also now underway and will examine how education is provided along the border corridor and whether there is scope to engage in joint planning of the respective schools' estate in this area. Major capital investment, although my department allocation is limited, has been planned and announced after a transparent process of prioritisation. Money is being spent to deliver modern, fit-for-purpose schools that will be sustainable long into the future. At the same time, I have significantly increased and ring-fenced the investment in maintenance, £40 million this year to date. Importantly, and perhaps for the first time, there is an increasingly mature and healthy debate happening in communities across the north about the future planning of our schools' estate. Last Concordia, over this last year, we have delivered progress in other areas. We have reached agreement at the Executive on the next steps for special education. We have amended admissions arrangements for preschool to remove the July-August birthday anomaly. I will be announcing revised proposals for the early years strategy shortly. Sir Bob Salisbury is leading the review of Common Funding Scheme, and I look forward to receiving his report in the near future. We have, of course, also started the legislative journey towards the establishment of a new Education and Skills Authority that will have our young people and their needs at its core. We have also responded to the growing appetite for sharing in our education system, and I am looking forward to the recommendations from the Shared Education Working Group that Professor Paul Connolly is leading. Last Concordia, the Executive has rightly been considering its response to the challenging economic context that persists. The programme for government makes clear the priority that all Executive Ministers attach to the economy, a priority that recognises the immediate challenge to support economic recovery and also the longer-term challenge of growing an economy that provides opportunities for all. An economy that generates wealth, equality and ethically. An economy that can compete and can win business, create jobs and provide opportunity. And we know too that an economy can only succeed in the face of global competition if its education system is performing well and its young people are achieving to their full potential. We cannot therefore divorce what our children learn and how well they do at school from our economic future. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I have remained determined to ensure that our young people have access to a modern, relevant curriculum and to high-quality careers and advice. That is why I commended, as I said I would, or as I commenced, as I said I would, the legislation that gives effect to the entitlement framework. Schools are now planning with certainty to ensure the delivery of a range of courses that respond to the interests of pupils and the needs of our economy. Parents and young people can be assured that there will be a broader curriculum available for September 2013. They should not hesitate to ask their schools how their school is planning to meet the requirements of the entitlement framework. Linked to the entitlement framework, of course, is the awarding of qualifications, and as members know, I have announced a review of our qualifications to ensure that these continue to be credible, portable and tailored to our needs. I am also determined to retain a clear, unapologetic focus on raising educational standards, a focus which is at the heart of my department's corporate plan for 2012-15, which will also be published this week. Last Concordia, on the 17th of October, the Chief Inspector of the Department's Education and Training Inspectorate launched her biannual report on the state of our education system. Through its independent reporting of the strengths and areas of improvement in our schools and youth provision, the Inspectorate makes a key contribution to raising standards. It acts as a catalyst for improvement. In the last year, 81% of schools with follow-up inspections had been improved by at least one performance level. The report paints an improving picture in our primary school, a picture that shows that the revised curriculum has bedded in well and is making a difference, that key Stage 2 outcomes for pupils in literacy and numeracy are continuing to improve, and that overall quality of provision was good or better in 4/5 of our primary schools inspected. I would like to acknowledge the dedication of our primary schools and the improvement that has been delivered, but too many children are not well served. 1 in 5 of our pupils is not at the expected level of literacy and numeracy by the time they leave primary schools. The report highlights that leadership and management in just over 20% of primary schools inspected needs to be improved. We need to tackle these problems, not tolerate them. Last Concordia, our primary schools face even more complex challenges. This Assembly will know my views on academic selection well. It will know that persisting with the two-tier model of provision of post-primary, or rather over-provision, creates the greatest challenges for the schools that serve our poorest communities. For those children who stand to benefit most from a great education and who face the greatest barriers to fulfilling their potential. That reality is not the fault of our schools, yet it is our non-selective post-primary schools that are often left to deal with the consequences. Unless we tackle the structural deficiencies in post-primary provision, we will not make progress we need to make. However, in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, I will take action to address the issues that the Chief Inspector's report highlights, issues that include an indefensible gap in attainment of GCSE between our least and most affluent pupils, issues that include underachievement among boys and girls, among working-class children, among Protestant working-class children, and among their Catholic working-class neighbours. The Chief Inspector tells us that inspections and follow-up inspections of post-primary schools resulted in overall effectiveness being evaluated as good or better in 59%. It is right that we pay tribute to the staff and governors in those schools, but the other side of the statistic gives me, and must give this Assembly, real cause for concern, because it tells us that in 41% of the post-primary schools inspected, provision was not good enough. The report also tells us that curriculum provision could be better in 33% of post-primary schools, and that leadership and management needs to improve in 39% of those schools inspected. It finds that in 20%, 1 in 5 of post-primary schools inspected, the leadership of the principal was less than satisfactory. When the report looks at English and Maths departments in post-primary schools, we can see that the leadership is good or better in over 70% of English departments, but just over 50% of Maths departments. We know how central good Maths teaching is, yet in almost half of all primary Maths departments inspected, leadership and management needs to improve. Last Concordia, there must be a clear and sustained response to this report. It is my view that it highlights the need to move beyond academic selection. In the short term, while we work to achieve that, it makes clear that we need to, for other action that I as Minister propose to take. It is very clear from the Chief Inspector's report and from wider local and international evidence that effective leadership and high-quality teaching are central to delivering improvement. Flexibility to teach in a way that best meets the needs of the pupils holds no fear for them, nor does being held accountable for the outcomes their pupils achieve. Deputy Speaker, we have many great teachers in our schools, but we do need more. We need to do more. More to acknowledge the great teachers and to develop more of them. And yes, more to challenge and support those who are not as effective as they should be. For that reason, Deputy Speaker, I have already announced action to enhance the professional standing of teachers here. I propose to bring to this Assembly legislation to strengthen the role of the General Teaching Council as the professional body in supporting teachers and upholding the highest professional standards. We will also support the continuing professional development of teachers through a new strategy for teacher education that will focus on attracting the right people into teaching and then on how to support them as they prepare to become teachers and as they go through their professional career. I also intend that ESA will have a professional support service of the highest quality, responsive to the needs of teachers, modern in its outlook, dedicated in its commitment to helping teachers help pupils. In the interim, I have tasked my officials to take action to ensure that the current structures deliver effectively for teachers. Turning last Concordia to leadership, we know that great teachers can only flourish where they are supported in schools by great leaders. We need therefore to take a new look at how we develop and support our school leaders, our principals and vice principals, and others in the leadership positions in schools. In response to the Chief Inspector's findings that our leadership programmes are fragmented and in need of updating, I will ensure the development and delivery of coherent, modern, fit-for-purpose leadership programmes that reflect the challenges of education in the 21st century. I want these programmes to focus on developing leaders who lead effectively, not only within their schools, but beyond the school gates. Leaders who work in alliance with their peers to meet the education needs of all young people in their area. I am also convinced that we need to reinvigorate the negotiating machinery that deals with principals and teachers' pay and conditions of service. It's simply too complex, too slow in responding to the changing needs of pupils and of teachers. For example, Las Concordia, should we not have the flexibility to reward principals based not on the number of pupils in their school, but on the size of challenges they face and on their success in overcoming those challenges? I would suggest that leadership challenges in taking over an underperforming school with low aspirations and falling numbers may be far greater than that involved in leading a school with a stable enrolment and a strong track record of delivering education. I also want to see more mobility in the profession. We have teachers and principals who have not experienced teaching outside their own school, who have worked all their career in one place. I ask the question, can such a system really provide the professional challenges that teachers and principals want and need? I believe we need to do more to make sure that the recruitment process for principals values a breadth of experience, including employment outside of the school. I want to see a situation where promotion of a principal is frequently not the last career move for a teacher, rather the first career move for an education leader. And we want to learn from other countries as well. We already benchmark our 15-year-olds in reading, maths and science through the PISA survey. Next month, following our participation in two major international surveys, TIMSS, which looks at maths and science, and PEARLS, which looks at reading, we will be able to establish for the first time how our primary system compares to those in other countries. This will allow us to see how we shape up against the best in the world. Mr. Speaker, I also want to announce to this Assembly today that as part of our work to learn from the best, the North will be participating in a major review by the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, looking at how assessment and evaluation systems deliver improvements for pupils. Our experience will help others learn from our experience. Importantly, it will also help us to learn from others too. It will involve an in-depth country review of our education system carried out by independent experts from other OECD countries. This is an exciting development that will provide valuable information to help us improve further our education system. It seems right, after all, that if we expect our schools to be inspected and evaluated and to respond with action to build on strengths and address areas for improvement, we should expect to subject our system as a whole to similar scrutiny, with the same objective, that of learning and improving. I look forward to welcoming the OECD expert team in the new year, and I hope that they will have an opportunity not just to talk to teachers, pupils, principals and governors, but also to some of our politicians and policy advisors. Last Concordia, I have talked about schools, I have talked about teaching and about leadership. In focusing on leadership, I also want to do more to support governors who give valuable leadership to our schools in a voluntary capacity. My department will therefore ensure the creation of a dedicated governor support service. It will not only provide training, advice and support, it will develop greater opportunities for governors to network, to share experience and become a stronger collective voice in our education system. Last autumn, I also asked the Inspector to broaden and strengthen the existing evaluation of the effectiveness of boards of governors. This is now being trialled with a view to greater sharing of good practice. Mar focal score August and Rachis Shaw and Crenu Agam. Bawylum focus Erna Dini by Cor, Dove Ave Ag Creelor or Goricus Egicus Erna Dini Oga August Dishmahori. Finally, as I finish my statement, I want to focus on the people who should be at the very heart of our education system, our young people and their parents. I want to make clear to the Assembly and to the people we serve my commitment to raising standards and to achieving the closing of the achievement gap. The programme for government rightly sets ambitious targets for us. I want to work with everyone who has an interest in education to see those targets achieved. Last Concordia, by improving outcomes for our young people, we improve the opportunities for them too.
Call Mr. Mervyn Story, Chairperson.